Hello everyone, and thanks once again for joining us here at Intensely Relaxed Gaming. This time we're doing something a little bit different. We are playing through the solo campaign of Arkham Horror, the card game, produced by Fantasy Flight Games. We're not going to go through into the mechanics of how to play and the rules as such, but I will link in the description below a very good tutorial that Fantasy Flight have done themselves and is readily available on their channel. I sincerely recommend you to check that out. If you're looking to get into the game and trying to make sense of words on paper, if you're anything like me, I prefer a visual aid to go through the rules than just simply reading it in the book. But without further ado, this campaign, what we're going to be doing, we're starting right at the very beginning. So we're starting at Night of the Zealot, and we're just playing the core for these first few videos. There are no cards that aren't available in the core. Literally, I have built the Roland Banks starter set, and that's going to be what I'm going to be using with the usual sort of upgrade rules as the campaign progresses. The cards and the card pool that I'll have to choose from is also only those cards and upgrades and alternatives that are available in the core set. Although you can see that I do have more cards to choose from. This is really about also inviting new players to start up, see that the game they can enjoy, even straight out of the box, without feeling the burden of 2, 3, 4 years worth of cards and cycles and upgrades and different investigators. I'm sure they're great and they're important, but this is very much about building on a start from practically zero. After we go through this 3 scenario campaign, the Night of the Zealot, we'll be starting off with the Dunwich Cycle as well. And again, the cards that will be available to me there are those that either come in the deluxe expansion box, or as each scenario goes, each Mythos pack is unlocked, the cards that are available in that pack will also be added to the pool of cards that I can choose to upgrade from or swap things out for. So without further ado, we're going to dive straight into Arkham Horror, the card game, Night of the Zealot, with Roland Banks being my solo investigator, so wish me a lot of luck. He's a good solid investigator to start with, certainly solo and out of the box. So we are going to be starting with the gathering. The background basically is that there have been some deaths, mysterious, half-eaten bodies and such, found in and around this city of Arkham, Massachusetts. And so you are investigated, you don't really believe the real stories. So the reading for the gathering, which is part 1, the first part of Night of the Zealot, goes as thus. You and your partners have been investigating strange events taking place in your home city of Arkham, Massachusetts. Over the past few weeks, several townspeople have gone mysteriously missing. Recently, their corpses turned up in the woods, savaged and half-eaten. The police and newspapers have stated that wild animals are responsible, but you believe there is something else going on. You are gathered together at the lead investigator's home to discuss these bizarre events. Or just me just talking amongst myself effectively at this point. Okay, so the theme on the agenda card says, what's going on? It is late at night. You are holed up in your study, researching the bloody disappearances that have been taking place in the region. A few hours into your research and you hear the sound of a strange chanting coming from your parlour down the hall. At the same time, you hear dirt churning as if something were digging beneath the floor. Trapped is the act card. As you leap to investigate, the door to your study vanishes before your eyes, leaving behind only a solid wall. You're trapped inside your study until you can find another way out. So this is where Roland is starting, in said study. The fluff says you've been investigating the strange events occurring in Arkham for several days now. Your desk is covered in newspaper articles, police reports and witness accounts. So we flip over. So what we can see is, to advance, we're going to need 2 clues per investigator, so 2 in this case, and on this location we do have 2 clues to be found. So that does that math pretty quickly. Start with 5 cards. Let's see what we've got. Hello, so we're back. I'm just having a look at the cards in my hand to see what it is I want to keep. What we're going to do, I'm going to keep a machete, and I am going to keep, I'm going to keep guts, because I remember there being quite a lot of willpower, which is that sort of brain stat. And then what you do is you discard the 3 cards that you don't want. I'm going to draw 3 more and see if I like these anymore. And I think I do, because I've got a magnifying glass, some dynamite, and the old book of lore, which allows you to sort of exhaust it and investigate and choose an investigator at your location, and that investigator searches the top 3 cards of his or her deck for card and then draws it and shuffles it. So I mean, that's quite a nice little card draw engine as well. So we've got some attack in the machete, we've got some help finding stuff and clues with the magnifying glass, and old book of lore is pretty good, as I said, as a draw engine. So first turn then, we skip the mental phase on the first turn, so we don't have to worry about that, so it's straight to our actions. And I think for my first action, I'm going to play the magnifying cards, and because it's fast, it doesn't actually cost me an action. It allows me to increase my my bookiness, this stat, to allow me to sort of resolve these clues a little bit faster. As that was fast, I think I'm just going to prepare myself a little bit and get out my machete as well, should anything creepy and or crawly jump up. And then we are going to try and investigate here. So I've got a base stat currently of 4, and I need a target of 2 with the shroud there. And so what are we going to get on our first one? We get an auto failure on that one, so that's not the greatest of starts, I have to say. And then for my third and final action, we'll go again, and we are going to draw the -1. So we managed to succeed there, and we gain 1 clue. So that is us for this first round. We are going to go straight for the fact that we then go through the enemy phase, not any enemy phases, and then we go to the sort of upkeep. So anything that's exhausted will stand back up. And then you draw a card and gain a resource. So we back up to 2 resources now, and I draw a knife, which is sort of superfluous to requirements really at this point, but you never know. And then we will go to the sort of doom phase. We're going to put doom on there on the agenda, and we're going to draw an encounter card. So I have got ancient evils. Place 1 doom on the current agenda, and then this effect can cause the current agenda to advance. It's not going to advance, but it has put our clock up a little bit. So we've now got 2 on the agenda now. So I think really I'm just going to have to try and go straight for completing and getting these clues as quickly as I can. Try and get out of this locked study. So what are we going to get here? So currently at 4 with a 0 means that we have passed. So we've got these 2 clues here now, which we can spend to pass to the next stage. So we're going to discard these 2 clues, and it says you notice that the edges of your newly furnished rug are tattered and mud-stained. Finding this odd, you shift the furniture aside and pull back the rug. To your surprise, you see a door leading out of your study. You slowly turn the knob, the door swings open, and it reveals the hallway below. You jump through the doorway, landing on your feet on soft dirt. The door to the study slams shut above you. The smell of burning wood fills the narrow hall, intermingling with the scent of rot and decay. So, we remove the study for the game, and we put in the set aside hallway, which is this one, the cellar, which is this one, I'm going to say. Yep, you can see those 2 are connected. The attic, and then we have a parlour down here, but I have jumped into the hallway. So I think that's all we have to do. So that goes down there. And we're left with a glowing barrier blocks the path to the parlour. As you move towards it, intense heat forces you to back away. Picking up a handful of dirt, you toss it at the barrier and watch in horror as the dirt incinerates. Perhaps there's something in the cellar or attic that can help. So the objective here is that when the round ends, investigators on the hallway may, as a group, spend the requisite number of clues to advance. Okay, was that the right way to play that one? Yes. Okay, so we're in the hallway. So no clues on this one. The walls of your house are splattered with mud and your hardwood floor is gone, replaced with a dirt path. So we did our first action to get that clue in the first place. And now it's a bit of a toss-up. Do we want to go to the cellar or the attic? Well, I don't like either option. One option describes the attic as the smell of rotten meat assaults your nostrils as you approach the attic stairs. In the cellar, the states that the stairs leading down to the cellar are slick and they glisten with a thick layer or a thin layer of ice. Well, as I say, neither of those two sound particularly appetising, but I'm more of a warm-blooded person than a cold, so I'm going to try and avoid the frost for a little bit. I'm going to go to the attic. I'm going to move to the attic, and as soon as I enter the attic, I've got to take one horror. So, Roland's horror isn't his greatest stat, he's only got a 5. There are 2 clues here, so I'm going to need 3, so it looks like it's going to force me to go to the cellar regardless. I do get a victory when I complete this though, so that's not too bad. So we claimed a clue up in the study, crashed through into the hall, and we're in the attic. So I can't see why I wouldn't just try and get a clue from here. So we're going to try our luck here and see what we can do. So again, 4, needing a 1, which is lucky because we went down to a 2. That's still enough to take a clue with our third and final action. So again, no enemies on the field at all. We are going to then gain a resource, draw a card. So I have got Vicious Blow, so if we do need to take out something quite scary, then we've got some good ways of doing that now. And then we go through to the Mythos phase. It is going to be I believe we put Doom Counter first, which is going to cause it to flip. So, your house continues to change before your very eyes. The walls have decayed and the ground in many rooms has turned to dirt. It's almost as if you have been transported somewhere else entirely, although every now and again you recognise elements of your former home. The lead investigator must decide, and I choose one. Either each investigator discards 1 card at random from his or her hand, or the lead investigator takes 2 horror. Got to remove these as well because we've advanced. I can't afford to take 2 horror really, so it is going to be discarding a card at random. I hope it's not the old Book of Law. I think that's the only one I'm particularly attached to. And it's the knife. So I'm not particularly sad that the knife is gone. That could have worked out a lot worse. And now to advance the agenda for the enemies, they need to go up to 7. So we've got a little bit of time, hopefully. Drawing an encounter card. Another Ancient Evils. I did shuffle this deck. Place 1 Doom on the current agenda. So we're still trying to accelerate away from me a little bit. Now, I think we want to, again, clear this attic of clues. So, first action is going to be to do that. And again, we get another -2. So we gain that clue. So that's our first action. And then I think I don't really want to go into the cellar with no actions left, because if there's a monster in there, it's just going to basically get a free attack at me without me having the opportunity to defend myself. So I think I'm going to move into the hallway. So that's my second action. And then I'm going to play this old Book of Law. So that's my 3 remaining resources that I'd saved up. and then I'm going to use the Book of Law immediately to tap it and exhaust it. Then I look at the top 3 cards, and I will draw one. I don't think I need hyper awareness, which is very good at helping me investigate and helping me flee with the sort of agility stat. Roland is very bad at agility, so it's not an awful idea. Or we've got evidence, so we can play after we defeat an enemy and discover a clue at our location. That's what I'm currently leaning towards. Or we've also got mind over matter, which allows us to use our investigation stat instead of our physical or our agility stat, our punchy or our feet. I don't think I'm leaning towards that at the moment. It's not a particularly strong card. I wouldn't have thought in Roland's deck because his book stat is generally so low. It's not low, it's 3, but it's not the greatest. So we're gonna keep evidence. That seems like the most appropriate for this, because we might encounter an enemy in a moment. And then that's the end of this new round, and we're going to take a resource and a new card. I haven't been saying about checking for max hand limit. The max hand limit is 8, so I've not been quite close to that. And then we're going to put a Doom token onto this and draw another card, and this time we have got something, although it's going to spawn behind us. It's the Flesh Eater. It's going to spawn in the attic. It does have a victory on it if I did defeat it. To note, because I've fully cleared the clues from this room, I do get a victory point from that. Victory point is basically experience points. You do want them. It's the ability to upgrade your cards or swap cards out. So it is something to be mindful about. So he hasn't jumped onto me, so that's not too bad. I'm tempted as to whether I want to do anything with him. He's not unsubstantial. He has quite decent fight stat of 4. He's quite easy to flee from, but he does have those 4 hit points as well. So he's not the easiest to take down, and he really does brutalise your horror stat. So again, not very appealing. So we're going to go into the increasingly cold cellar. So that's my first action. It does have 2 clues on it. So there they are, and as soon as I enter the cellar I take 1 damage. So taking a little bit of damage from the frost in there, and now this one's shroud is 4, which is less than ideal. I mean, I do have the evidence, which does have 2 investigation stats on it to play, just for their bonus when trying to investigate. Should untap that. Oh, this is less than ideal. There's nothing to fight here, so I really do need to discard it. So I'm going to discard it as part of my first investigate action. That takes me up to a 6, so there's only a couple of things that would ruin this for me. I have got this cloak, which is a -1, and if you fail, take 1 horror. So I haven't failed, so that is good. We are at 3. Now I can try and clear it again, because that would get me an extra victory point. Boom, boom, boom. Let's do that. Look, we only live once. I'm just going to go for a 4 on 4, so I hope I don't get a -1, which is on average more than likely, and see where we go. -1, yeah, so I fail. So my third action was to try that investigation again, and unfortunately I failed. So we'll take a resource and a card. And we have picked up a research librarian. So they are a ally that costs 2. After he enters play, I may search my deck for a tome asset and add it to my hand, and then shuffle the deck. So there are things like medical notes and stuff like that. So it's broadly sort of helps to space out some of the weak points in Roland's kit. But we do have 3, but I'm not in the hallway, so I can't pass it at the moment. So what I'm going to do is I have to put a Doom token on and draw an encounter card. And so I have got grasping hands, which I need to test my agility, which is brilliant, a 2. And for each point that I fail, I take 1 damage. I don't really have anything that's going to bolster that. I could discard the research librarian to make it equal. But to be brutally honest, the research librarian might be able to get me the medical text anyway, so I'm less bothered about that because that could heal the damage away, I'm hoping. I do fail, so my 2 goes down to a 1, so that's pretty bad. I miss by 2, so I take 2 damage, so we'll upgrade that 1 token to a 3. And because I failed with the cloak, I will take a 2nd horror. So that was not a great encounter card for Roland, but we've got through it. So what are we going to play? I think we're going to play the research librarian to start with. So that's going to be 2. So that's my first action, and then after he enters play I get to search for a tome asset. What are we going to go for here? Tome asset is... oh, it was literally sitting on top. So I can choose to get the medical text. I think that's the only one that is also in it. Okay, yeah, everything else is allies, talents, tools, etc. So, or this one, is this it? Nope, this is guard dog. So I've got these medical texts and they will go into my hand. I'm not going to play them straight away, but it's nice to have a little bit of reassurance there. I'm going to want to end in the hallway, aren't I? So I think what I could do is, let's try our luck with investigating one more, with that aim that, you know, we might be okay, and clear out that cellar. -3 from a 4 leaves me on 1, no chance. So my final action is I'm just going to try and complete this scenario, I think, and head back towards the hallway. Any monsters in the monster turn would go now, but this guy, this flesh eater, is not a hunter, so he doesn't move. If he was attached to me, he would now attack, but he's not. So then I am going to draw a card and get a resource. Got a flashlight, which might come in handy. That would have been really useful a moment ago in the cellar. And then I'm going to discard 3 clue tokens at the end of the round to advance the agenda. Advance the act even. So, using the barrel from the attic, you carry ice and snow from the cellar and hurl it at the barrier. The barrier sparks and shudders as it consumes the ice, then hisses and fades out of existence. The barrier blocking the passage to the parlour has vanished. Reveal the parlour. So it's flipped over now. Put the set-aside Lita Chandler character into play. In the parlour, so she's in the parlour, she must have been trapped behind the barrier. And then also put the set aside ghoul priest in the hallway. Brilliant. So he's going to be in the hallway already, and he's pretty much going to attach to me fairly quickly as soon as that happens. Just check the rules just to be double certain, and of course the ghoul priest, if it spawns on your location, on the location of any investigator, it does happen to attach to you. In this case, if there were more than one investigator, it would be to the one with the highest fight stat. But as I'm on my Billy No Mate's lonesome, it is going to attach to me. So I've got quite a significant enemy there. I mean, it's got 5 hit points, 4 attack and 4 agility, so I'm not running away from it. So I think the only thing for it is to attack it with my machete, because the only things I can do is either fight or flee. Anything else is going to cause it to attack, and that's going to go through my horror stat pretty quick. So I am going to discard Vicious Blow to start with. So if it is successful, I'm going to do more than 1 damage, and that is going to be a 6 versus its 4 and a +1. Wow, a positive for once. So that is going to mean that this enemy is going to take 3 damage. Whew. And then I'm going to have to attack it again, aren't I? I'm going to have to discard the medical text. I really need to make sure that the stats are in my favour. I'm going to attack the machete again. So again, it's going to be a 6 versus 4. And I get a -1. So thankfully, the Ghoul Priest has been defeated in pretty short work, but it had to be, because otherwise it was going to be pretty awful. He retaliates every time I failed as well. So if I failed one attack and he was still alive on my to come to the enemy's phase, that was Roland gone. So thankfully I'm okay. So we are going to move down. So third action is just going to be to move to the parlour. So I need to if I kill the priest, which is what I've done, is actually the objective for Act 3. So the final thing is, when a robed creature falls, the fiendish swarm burrows back into the ground and the chaos of the house quiets, but the stranger in your parlour doesn't seem relieved. You broke my seal that was set up to trap the ghouls within. Now we must take more direct measures and burn this hell pit to the ground. Okay, so I assume that's Lita. So I need to choose whether I burn the home down or this hell pit is my home and there's no way we're burning it. Oh, I mean, to meta, I don't know which option proves to be better, but I feel like now what's happened to it, I don't really want it, so I'm going to burn it and see what happens. So I'm going to burn it down and see what the resolution is at the end of this first scenario. So you nod and allow the red-headed woman to set fire to the walls, and the floor of your house becomes ablaze. The fire spreads quickly and you run out the front door to avoid being caught in the inferno. From the sidewalk, you watch as everything you own is consumed by the flames. Come with me, the woman says. You must be told of the threat that lurks below. Alone, we are surely doomed, but together we can stop it. So in my campaign log, I need to record that the house is burned to the ground. I will gain the Lita Chantler card and may include it in my deck. It doesn't count towards my deck size. So she's going to come with me. And I am going to suffer 1 mental trauma from having watched my home burn down. Okay. Well, that means mental trauma means I start with 1 horror at the start of each of the successive scenarios now. So again, with my stat being so low, that is less than ideal. Then I will gain experience points equal to the victory points I've done. So I gained 1 victory point for having cleared out the attic, and I gained 2 victory points for having defeated the Ghoul Priest, so I gained 3. And I also gained 2 bonus experience if as he or she has gained insight into the hidden world of the mythos. So yes, I'm not sure if that was the greatest, but in terms of that, I've got 1 mental trauma, I've got Lita, and I have got 5 experience points in total. So we will venture forth in the next episode into seeing what it is that I've purchased or how I spent my experience points, and then we will go forth into part 2, the Midnight Masks. So please do remember to like, comment and subscribe if you've enjoyed this video, and join us again as we continue the campaign into Arkham Horror's Night of the Zealot. Have a good day now. Take care. Bye.